Hey, Chef Billy Parisi here with Heinen's. Thanks so much for stopping in. I want to show you some of my foolproof tips that I use to make sure I have a beautiful pork roast every time to serve up to family and friends. I am going to be starting off with 4 bone-in fresh pork loin center cut roast. I picked this up straight from the Heinen's meat department. It's got a beautiful pink color and a nice fat cap on top, and of course, bone in, which means more flavor. My first tip is to pat dry the pork roast on all sides with paper towels. Doing this will make sure we get a beautiful brown crust on the outside of our pork. Remember that Maillard reaction we're looking for is always prevented by moisture, so pat it dry very well. And for my second tip, pre-season the pork roast generously with coarse salt and fresh cracked black pepper. Then let it sit at room temperature for in between 60 and 90 minutes. Doing this will give the salt time to penetrate deep into the meat, so those center bites that you're gonna take from it are gonna be absolutely delicious and perfectly seasoned. Number 3, make a rub. This is your opportunity to infuse other flavors and ingredients into the overall taste of the pork. For me, I just love fresh herbs. Things like rosemary, sage, parsley, fresh garlic, seasoning it with salt and pepper, and a little olive oil to bring it all together. Mix it until it's combined, and the smell from that alone is incredible. And really quick, be sure to save about a 1/4 cup of this for later, and I'll show you why. Now, once your pork has sat in that seasoning for 60 to 90 minutes, we're gonna bring it out and we're gonna generously coat it on all sides with that herb garlic rub. I wanna make sure every bite that I taste is incredibly delicious and loaded up with all these flavors. And for my number 4 tip, use a thermometer. If not, you're just guessing. And oftentimes, especially with pork, it can be overcooked and dried out because it gets past that 170, 180 mark. In fact, you want pork to be in between 135 degrees and 140 degrees Fahrenheit when you pull it out. Now, you can use a direct read thermometer, or you can use one that you stick directly in there that is oven safe. That's what I'm going to do. Now for tip number 5. This is known as the reverse sear. You've seen me do it for a steak recipe. What this does is slow cooks the pork at very low temperatures, giving the fat time to render and permeate through the meat. If you cook it at too high a temperature, all the fat's doing is running off the sides of the pork. We want to incorporate it into the inside. Remember, fat equals flavor. So we are cooking it at 250 degrees until it reaches 100 degrees Fahrenheit internally. This takes roughly an hour and 45 minutes. Tip number 6, use aromatics. Now, root vegetables have an amazing way to incorporate their scents right into your big roast. So for me, I like things like carrots, celeriac root, parsnips, and while I'm at it, why not some baby potatoes? I'm gonna coat these in a little bit of olive oil, salt and pepper, and mix until combined. Once that pork hits 100 degrees Fahrenheit, we're gonna pull it out of the oven and we're gonna put those root vegetables all around the outside. And when it cooks in the oven, all those beautiful scents are gonna go right onto our pork, making it that much more delicious. But what we're gonna do here to get a beautiful brown crust is crank the heat up to 450 degrees. We want that Maillard reaction. It just makes everything that much more delicious, and we'll also need that time and temperature to cook our root vegetables. So 450 degrees for roughly 45 minutes, or until it reads in between 135 degrees and 140 degrees Fahrenheit. And for my last tip, once everything is done and to the right temperature, you have to rest your pork for a good 10 to 15 minutes. This allows the juices to soak back in so that it's flavorful, tender, and beyond juicy. That is what you're looking for here. And in the end, I like to thinly slice it before serving it up. Now remember that remaining herb garlic sauce? This is why I had you set it to the side. Just spread it all over the pork sort of reinvigorate those fresh herbs and garlic flavors. And then why not just put a little bit on the vegetables? And I'm telling you, use these tips. They've been proven over and over again to make absolutely beautiful, tender, delicious, flavorful pork roast every single time. You will not regret it. I think you and your family are really going to like it. Speaking of family, I need to call them in and help me eat this. We'll see you next time.